Warning, this content may be upsetting or disturbing to some audiences. Serious, Redditors who got stuck in elevators, what's your stories? Working in NYC in a 70-story building, and I worked on 34th floor. Leaving late on a Friday evening, nobody around. Got an elevator and hit ground floor button. Elevator sat a while, then started going up, and up and up. I start bracing myself against the wall. Then it stopped and the doors opened to a concrete wall that said floor 60, sat there for a minute, then went straight down to the ground floor. So not stuck long, but it definitely caused me to pucker up. Got stuck at work a few years ago. Firefighters had to come and pull me out the top and then out the doors. A little nervous it would start moving again and cut me in half. On a positive note, I had my laptop with me, so I got some uninterrupted work done while waiting to be rescued. I got stuck in one while working security for a hospital. A few of the elevators at the hospital were notorious for getting stuck. I was heading to a call and I got on, hit the button to go down, door closed and did not move. Tried to use my badge, again hit the button, but the elevator would not move. Door was closed, but nothing. Called my dispatcher, let them know to get maintenance to get me out. As I was waiting, I randomly pulled on the door, and got it opened. Looked down to realize the elevator was not working, because a screw was in the door groove, so I pulled my knife out, got the screw out, and got the elevator back running. Let me start this off with, I have a lifelong fear of elevators. I don't get on them. If I have to walk up 20 flights of stairs, I will. But I won't take the elevator. I was committed to a psych ward about a year ago or so, depression you could say. I got stuck in the psych ward for 2 weeks and thought I'd go the whole time without ever going outside, because the only way outside was on an elevator. But you'd be surprised how being stuck inside a depressing, ugly hospital ward with people way more severely mentally distraught than even you are for 2 weeks gets to you. The windows were so dirtied you could barely see through them, let alone get any sunlight. I had to go out. I was getting loopy in there. I eventually worked up to it, telling myself people without this silly fear ride in elevators all the time and it's fine. The odds of the one time in my life I get on one going wrong are ridiculous. So, almost immediately, it gets stuck about 3 to 4 stories up. Now, I'm in there with, I wanna say it was 5 or so other mental patients, and 2 security guards. I was in there for depression, but almost everyone else on that elevator had serious emotional disorders. They couldn't handle the stress very well. They had no sort of tools that we might possess to force themselves to remain calm, or at least seem calm enough in that situation. So now, I'm shoulder to shoulder with people screaming, pushing the security guards, flailing, hollering. One of them, a girl who weighed somewhere in the 260s let's say, begins charging from one side of the elevator to the other, rocking around, throwing herself forcefully onto the ground. ISHTU not, the elevator shook so hard every time she outbursted I was pretty sure it was gonna fall. It was absolute shoulder to shoulder pandemonium. Eventually, they tired themselves out after not too long. But that's when the real SHT began. It was 90-something degrees in that elevator, and we were about 7 to 8 or so bodies packed tightly in. For 2 hours and 20 minutes. The fire squad or whoever was on the other side trying to open the doors and couldn't. Every once in a while the hospital staff would shout to us from the other side that they were trying to get us out and couldn't. The sweat was rivers coming off of me, puddles on the ground, and I hadn't drank water all day. All I could do was feel my body screaming at me about how badly it wanted to drink water, and I knew there was water right beyond the door nobody could get open and wouldn't be able to for who knows how long. A couple of us took our shirts off, it was so crazy hot. I thought I could faint at any given second. I just kept looking at the wall or the ground and trying to tell myself it was gonna be good soon enough. The security guards also lost their professional "we're running the show here" facial expressions and body language, and it was very apparent to me the situation devolved them into just 2 other scared, miserable people having a horrible day on the elevator with us, which was kinda scary to see. Anyways, over a couple hours in, they got us out back onto the psych ward floor. I never got to go outside, and I did my remaining week or so without going outside. Also, I have reverted to trusting my initial phobic instincts on this one. I haven't got on an elevator ever since, and have no plans to. There's one elevator in my old school, which was built on a hill. I was at the bottom floor in theater class. I forgot my script, ran up the stairs, got it, and went down on the elevator. At the bottom, the doors didn't open. I was like, okay, it's old, give it a minute. About 3-ish minutes later I was freaking out. An anxious 10-year-old stuck alone in an elevator. I waited about 5 minutes longer just to see if the doors would open before I would call the help button. At the end of the 5 minutes, it just opened. My teachers freaked out at me because I was gone for a while. I took the stairs for a while after that. It has happened twice in my 34F life. The first time I was like 13 and with my mom and other people in the elevator at a hospital. It kind of shuddered weirdly and stopped between the 3rd and 4th floors. We kind of all just looked around awkwardly, but one nurse, maybe 45 years old, was freaking out. She kept pushing buttons trying to get the elevator to do something and then started trying to pry the door open. The fact that she was freaking out was way scarier to me than being stuck in the elevator. Being with my mom helped, too. The elevator mechanic had been there working on it and was able to make us move after only like 20 minutes, so it wasn't terrible. The second time was way worse. I was 19 and was staying at a hotel with my now husband. I took the elevator down and went to get something out of the car in the parking lot. I got back into the elevator to go back up to my room, but the elevator was acting weird. I got in, pushed for the 3rd floor, the doors started to close but then opened again. I pushed the door close button and it closed, but didn't go anywhere. I tried pushing a different floor button, nothing. Tried pushing door open button, nothing. After a few minutes, I pushed the call button and a bell sound rang loudly, no response. I was only like 20 feet from the reception desk, but no one came. I rang it over and over with no answer. I started yelling and ringing the bell with still no help. I was bawling by this time. Finally, I heard my husband calling down to me from the 3rd floor. He ran down the stairs to the front desk to get help. They had a key to open the elevator door. They'd totally heard me ringing the bell and yelling, "BTW." The receptionist said, "I thought it was just some kids messing around." I was only stuck in there for like 45 minutes or so, but it was pretty traumatic. Got stuck in the elevator at my office when I'd only been working there a month or so. Had no cell service. I was completely alone. I was ringing the alarm like crazy but I had no way to know if anyone was there. 45 minutes later it opened. I was crying on the floor. They let me leave for the day with pay because I was too anxious to work. So mine might not technically count as stuck cause we were able to get out on our own. But I do photo work for a local newspaper. I was covering a high school hockey game and I met up with the editor/reporter in the parking lot before heading to the arena. We walked in, got in the elevator to go from the ground level to the rink. There are literally no stairs, you must take the elevator, doors shut, we hit the floor, and the elevator goes up. But the doors didn't open. We then tried another floor, but the button wouldn't light up, we just sat there. Then the elevator spontaneously moved to another floor, but the doors never opened there either. We hit the call button but no one answered. Eventually we pressed the ground floor button and it went and we got out where we started, then found another elevator to take us up. When I was 16 I took a weekend cooking class at a local college. The teacher was insane, and crammed 14 of us into a small elevator so we would all leave the classroom at once. Our combined weight was too much for the cable. It didn't break but we stretched it, I guess. And we ended up 4 below the 1st floor level. We pried the doors open to discover that we had bent the door catch and missed the floor. It took an hour and a half for people to come and replace the cable and pull us up to the door level to trigger the outer doors to open. An hour and a half squished between 13 adults singing bawdy songs to take our minds off of things. When we were finally freed I got yelled at by my friends for making them miss the train home. I took the stairs for a very long time after that. Fuck no, don't take me back to that memory. I learned that day to never enter the elevator when one needs to use the bathroom. I almost peed on myself. I was giving a tour of our campus to 15 students. We got on the elevator, within capacity, we didn't overload, and got stuck. I called for help once it became obvious we were stuck. For the first few minutes, we thought it wasn't a big deal, but as the minutes stretched on, some kids started to panic a bit, needing to take control and restore order. I quickly grabbed my cell phone, and we did selfies for a few minutes. We did serious ones, Crazy ones, scared face ones, the whole 9 yards. We shared the photos between ourselves. It calmed people's nerves, and we had a relatively good time. After 20 minutes or so, we were rescued, but we were between floors, so we had to jump up about 4 feet to get out. Everyone was okay, but I was so glad it didn't become mass chaos or a total freakout, as it certainly could have. It happened to me probably a couple of years ago at work. I usually go out and buy lunch with my coworkers, but that day I couldn't make it, so I went by myself. On my way back to my office with my food at hand, I went into the elevator with a couple more people. Everyone got off in their respective floor and I was the last one in the elevator. The door closes after the last person to get off and the elevator just stops. I wasn't worried but annoyed. The elevator had some switches to stop and start the elevator and also an intercom for emergencies. I tried the switch multiple times and didn't work. So I used the intercom to call for help. The operator lady took my info, location mostly, and waited a little while. I was getting hungry, so I ate my lunch there while I was waiting for someone to get me out of there. Probably after 20 minutes of waiting, I hear someone saying he is going to get me out. I hear the elevator restarting and a little movement and it is functioning again. The door opens and I get out immediately. Moral of the story, always have something to eat with you. Me and my family. We were too fat to the elevator. It would have been funny except for the fact that happened on Sunday and a poor employee had to get us out from the elevator. I got stuck in an elevator back when I was around 5 to 6 years old. I remember our landlord telling me and my cousin that there might be a power cut soon and told us to not use the elevator. So, me and my cousin, whom was around my age, went to tell our parents that we should use the elevator. And of course they thought we were kidding or just being kids and didn't listen and said it'll be fine. We got stuck in the elevator for 1 hour. When I lived in Beirut, our apartment building had a mid-sized one. Think 4 people could be close, but we fit 6 in a few uncomfortable times. However, because it was Beirut, if you had the misfortune of getting stuck you were looking at a wait of 10 minutes to a few hours. I was lucky and only got stuck twice, once for the 10 minutes and once for about 30 minutes. A friend of mine got stuck at a terrible time and actually had to be rescued. She wasn't in there long, but we all knew the power wasn't coming back for several hours. The hardest part was that it was pitch black when the power was out and, unsurprisingly, there was no air movement. If you were in with multiple people it could get gross fast, not terrible but also not super exiting fun times. My case was rather mild. The UNI building I go to has an elevator. I only used it when I was tired. The building is only 3 stories tall. It was always rather rickety. One day after class, myself and 3 others got stuck on it after it gave out. Luckily it's one of those with a glass wall that looked out into the rest of the campus, so we were noticed rather quick. All in all, couldn't have been stuck there more than 10 minutes. I lived on the 6th floor of an apartment with a terrible elevator. I got stuck in it probably 5 times over a semester. Each time, I had to get the office to write my professor's letter for attendance excuses. Now, why would I still ride this elevator when it frequently screwed me so? Because the stairs were in the elements and Utah is cold. The elevator was heated. Even when it would go down, it was heated. And I like to read. I did a lot of good reading in that elevator. I regret nothing. It was multiple levels of boring. I was at work. The elevator just kinda stopped. Fortunately I didn't panic. I just picked up the white phone and someone came on. I think I was out of there in about 15 minutes. I have PTSD from Muzak. I got off the elevator and went to lunch. When I came back the elevator was stuck on the ground floor. There were several people in the elevator. Some guy went into a panic and started screaming and pounding on the door. It took nearly 2 hours to get everyone out and much of that time this guy was freaking out. Felt sorry for those trapped with this guy. Was in a small bed and breakfast. It had a very small, I mean like 1/5 of a meter. Was early and we were leaving. 2 of us squeezed into the elevator with the suitcases. I had an extra bag, and as the doors closed it detected it and just stopped, but the elevator continued to go down. We wasn't stuck for long, but it was so claustrophobic that both of us were like in a panicked state all day. I was late to class one day and just as the doors to the elevator were closing, Some guy that I didn't even realize was behind me stuck his arm in and jammed them. The doors got stuck maybe 10 inches apart, enough that I could see out but definitely couldn't squeeze out. I realized the doors were stuck, and was trying to talk to the guy and ask if he could go get help. But he was silent and kind of hiding behind the door so I couldn't see his face. Then he just walked away without saying anything. When I realized he abandoned me and there was nobody else around, this annex building was usually pretty empty, I pressed the alarm button, but found out that it doesn't actually call anyone but just makes a loud bell sound. The elevator had bad cell service so I couldn't call someone to come help me. I started to panic until one of my classmates who was later than me that day came by and realized I was stuck in the elevator, and went and got help for me and told the professor I was stuck in the elevator. Maintenance eventually came and got me out, but to this day I wonder why the first guy just walked away without saying anything. I also wonder about his intentions or if he stuck the elevator doors on purpose, because he was acting pretty sketchy and I got a very strange vibe from him. If you made it to the end of the video, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share, and we will see you in the next video.